We're here at EVS 38 for an exclusive preview of the all-new Nissan LEAF. They've taken learnings from 700,000 global sales, together with 28 billion miles covered by their consumers. The launch of the third generation Nissan LEAF is very significant for the brand because it is the first manufacturer to have sold 500,000 EVs of any one model. And it is the first mainstream mass EV to have reached its third generation. The first generation arrived in 2010. It had a 24 kilowatt-hour battery, providing 124 miles and cost £23,350 thanks to government grants. The second generation arrived in 2018 and was equipped with a much bigger 60 kilowatt-hour battery, providing 239 miles, and that was actually cheaper at £21,990, again thanks to those government grants. On to the third generation of the Nissan LEAF. It has a 75 kilowatt-hour battery, providing up to 375 miles, but there is no official word on price yet. Outside, it's sleek, bold and more modern, but still aerodynamic, with a drag coefficient of 25 versus 28 on the previous generation. And that's thanks to a fastback silhouette, flush door handles, active grille shutter and optimised wheel design, as well as a flat underfloor. I love all its 90s inspired details, such as these 3D rear lights, and this Nissan or 23 in Japanese graphics that are dotted around the car. The blacked out rear panel is reminiscent of the 350ZX, reminding newer Chinese and Korean brands that it has heritage. But at the same time, thanks to consumer demand, it's been made to look more European, and that's why it's got this crossover shape. It's 13 centimetres shorter, but not sacrificed on space. The interior is roomier than the previous generation, with 8 centimetres more legroom for rear passengers. Inside, it's had a really dramatic makeover. There are now two 14.3-inch screens and it's Google connected, so you get their latest suite of services. It's bright, sharp and responsive. Bose audio system comes with the higher spec models, and it's got speakers here through the headrest, which basically projects sat-nav instructions and phone alerts so that the rest of the occupants aren't disturbed. There's a lot of premium materials used throughout the cabin, and it's pretty sleek, ergonomic. There's a flat floor here to give like a lounge-like feel. And as you can see, I've got a lot of headroom. I'm nearly 6 foot, and there's a lot of useful cubbies dotted throughout the cabin, including 2 glove boxes. We have physical buttons down here for the camera and the volume, and I assume what would be radio search function down here, and haptic feedback buttons for the aircon and the heated seats. Then we've got all the usual ADAS systems, which are controllable through buttons on the steering wheel. There are 4 trim levels. The basic level doesn't come with sat-nav, I believe, but it does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity. It has this pretty cool e-dimming roof, it's called, which basically partitions the front and rear areas to create thermal protection. The reason why they've done this is that so you don't have a blind, and they've created, because of this, 3 centimetres of extra headroom. There are also 50 different colours for the ambient lighting. There's plenty of room in the back, given that this driver's seat is set right back. And despite this sloping roofline, I've still got more than enough room. I think you could comfortably sit 3 adults in the back of this car. Boot space has a 437 litre capacity. Now that's 50 more than the previous model, and that's thanks to some clever packaging. So the aircon unit, for example, has been moved to under the bonnet, and the subwoofer has been fitted in other areas of the car that weren't previously being used. This has meant that there is no frunk, When I questioned Nissan about this, they actually said that when they were doing some consumer research, that they found the owners of those with a frunk found that the objects rattled around while they were driving and that there was no real use for it, and that the space was better to be utilised in the cabin and the boot. It's equipped with a CSS charging system as opposed to CHAdeMO, and it has a 3.7 kilowatt vehicle to load outlet. More impressively than that, it's also vehicle to grid compatible, and that will be rolled out in the future. The UK is the first market that this will be rolled out in. Nissan have to take into account two factors: consumer demand, but also complexity with energy suppliers in each country. I think their first objectivity is to convince people to transfer from ICE into EV before even talking about vehicle to grid. It is based on Nissan's CMF EV platform, the same as the Ariya. You can choose between a long-range 75 kilowatt-hour battery, providing up to 375 miles, and that feeds to a 214 brake horsepower front-mounted electric motor. 0 to 62 takes 7.6 seconds before reaching a top speed of 100 miles per hour. You can charge up to 150 kilowatts, and 20 to 80% refill takes 30 minutes. During extensive testing, they actually saw a real-world range of 210 miles at 80 miles per hour. Or there's the entry-level 52 kilowatt-hour battery, providing 270 miles, and that's powered by a 174 brake horsepower motor and takes a second longer to reach 0 to 62. You can only charge it up to 105 kilowatts, but it is the same refill figure. Also, the car's heating, charging and battery systems are all connected, so it can capture heat from the onboard charger, which is usually wasted, and use it to warm up the battery, making it more efficient. I did ask why it didn't have 800 volt capability, given that there was much emphasis on this being a usable everyday car. And their reply was that after completing an 800-kilometre journey from Paris to the south of France, it didn't actually make much of a significant difference in terms of time compared to the petrol-powered Qashqai. But saying that, they did say they had an 800-volt EV architecture in development and were also looking into LFP batteries. It gains a new multi-link rear suspension and McPherson strut front suspension for better handling, improved comfort, control and balance. It also has a tighter turning circle of 5.3 metres versus 5.4. It's a global product, but tuned for Europe in terms of the chassis and the aerodynamics. In fact, the US and Japan have a drag coefficient of 26 rather than 25, and they've achieved that through things like different mirror caps, for example. There are 7 colours available, including this unique turquoise luminous teal, which I rather like. And the interior comes in a choice of black or white with purple accents. There are a suite of standard safety systems, including a 3D 8-point around view monitor and real-time road visualization for tight maneuvers. An invisible hood view and front wide view further helps. It also has a 975 kilogram towing on brakes, that is, and 75 kilograms on the roof bars. Both of these are available on top 2 grades. Talking of which, there are 4 trim levels: Engage, Engage Plus, Evolve and Advanced, just like the previous generation. Deliveries are expected to be in early spring 2026. Nissan say it is an icon reimagined. The new Leaf has indeed turned over a new Leaf, bringing it right into play with its key rivals, although at this point in time it refuses to say who its main competitors are, together with pricing, but we're guessing around about the 30k mark. The car that pushed EVs into the mainstream has been reimagined, and the all-new generation Nissan LEAF has a lot to shout about. Nissan wants to bring over buyers of its previous generation Leafs, but it's also very keen to convert people from ICE cars into this, because they say that it's a very usable everyday EV. But is it too late? Should Nissan have capitalised on the lead that it had? We now have a lot more competition from Europe, Korea and even China. Time will tell.